Hello, students. I got asked a question on 3.1, number 22C. So let's take a look. 3.1B, number 22C. Okay, so the question says, take the number 303 and convert it to base 3. Okay, 303. I did 202, 303. To base 3. Okay, so remember, base 3 is going to have the following numbers: 0, 1, and 2. Those are the only digits in base 3. Base 3 has 3 digits, so we would count 0, 1, 2, and then so forth. So as we were dividing this, I think probably the best thing to do would be to find the powers of 3. That would be really helpful. Remember, it's all place value, so 3 to the 0, and I'm going to put 3 to the n, and then I'll just add a slider. Not that I'm being sneaky or anything like that. I just want to be able to say, let's start from 0 and we'll go up to 10. I don't know how many of these I'll need, but we'll just do this. Okay, so take a look. 3 to the 0 is 1. Okay, so that's a ones place. Next up is the threes, groups of 3, groups of 9, groups of 27, 81, 243, and 729. So what that tells me is right here that I can have a group of 243. And now, so I can come up here and I can say, okay, so what I want to do is I want to take 303 and I want to subtract 243. I only need one of those. Okay, that leaves 60 behind. So what I would write down, and let me see here. I think I can do this all on the same screen. I'm just using Desmos as a graphing calculator, but you could use your cell phone. I just needed something that would show up when I was sharing my screen. So what I have now is, because I have 3 to the 5th, so what I want to do is I'm going to write out these place values. Okay, so I have my 1s, right? I have my 3s. I have my 9s, which is 3 squared. I have 27s. I have, what the next was 81. And then the last one is 243. Okay, so what do I just end up with here? 243 goes into 303 one time. So that's one group of 243. And take a look at what's remaining is 60. So the next number in my base 3 would be a group of 81. Well, 81 is too big, so I have 0 groups of 81. Okay, so now I'm down into groups of 27. Well, 27 would go in here at least once. 30 would go in here twice, so 27 should go in here 2 times. Okay, so now what I can do is I can come back and say, okay, that's great. Let me come back and let's go over here. So now I'm going to press enter. It's going to bump me down just a little bit here. So now I have 60, and I want to take away 27 times 2. Okay. Oh, that leaves me with 6. Okay. So that's helpful because now I have 6 left. The next number that I can see is a group of 9. So 6 is less than that. So I have 0 groups of 9. And then the next is group of 3. Well, 6 is 2 groups of 3. So this would be a 2, and there'd be nothing left over. So this would be a 0. And then this one next to it would be a 2. And the next would be a 0 as well. So my final answer would be 102020, base 3. That really should be a little bit lower, but I'm not sure how to how to do it in this program really quickly. I just want to make sure you understood that idea. So there you go. That's it. Find your place values, and then you can just see how many of them go in as you work your way across. Okay. Let's see. I think there is, I do believe they gave another approach in the book. Not 100% sure. The last edition I really used was the 11th edition. So as I look through it, some of the pieces did get changed a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the 303, and I'm going to divide by 3. Okay. Now that went in 101 times with no remainder. Okay, so what I write down is that I had 0. Okay, and now what I do is I take that new number, right, which is 101. So I get enter, and I say 101 divided by 3. Okay, so that's 33 with a remainder of 0.66666. So if I keep that, if I do that as a fraction, right, like a mixed number, that'd be 33 and 2/3. So that'd be 2 left over. Okay, so that means 2 left over. And then I can round that one. So I come down here and I just say, okay, let's do 33 divided by 3. And that goes in 11 times with a remainder of 0, right? So let's see here. Then I would say remainder of 0. And I just put that down in order. So I basically take the number. If there's a remainder, I write the remainder down. And I take whatever is left. I have 11 divided by 3. So that goes in 3 times with 2 left over, because 3 times 3 is 9. There's 2 left over. So I would have 2 left over here. And then I have the number 3. So let's try this one together. Okay, so 3 divided by 3 goes in 1 time, and a remainder of 0. And then lastly, I would have 1. And I say 1 divided by 3, which gives me 0 times it goes in with a remainder of 1. So my final remainder is 1. And so what is kind of cool about this technique, if you like this technique, is you just keep dividing by 3 each time. Write down the remainders as you go. So the first one divided by 3, remainder is 0, then remainder of 2, then remainder of 0, then remainder of 2, then remainder of 0, then remainder of 1. And what you get is, if you read from the bottom to the top, you get exactly the same digit, the exact same number you had if you read from left to right over here. So you can choose. Me personally, I still like kind of getting a feel for the place value as I go. So I like thinking about those place values. But again, if you're interested, you can just divide by 3, then truncate, divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by whatever base you're in. And it works out really nicely. So 2 different techniques. Hopefully one of those works out really well for you. All right, that's it. Hope it helps. Off you go.